Hey there, welcome back to Story Slices, where we slice through the best Reddit tales just for you. Let's dive right into the first story. The first one is the Tittle story, and it starts like this. I never thought building a tree house for my kids would lead to a neighborhood war, but here we are. It all started last summer when I decided to fulfill a promise I'd made to my two children, Emily, 9, and Max, 7. They'd been begging for a tree house for years, and I finally had the time and resources to make it happen. Our backyard has this massive oak tree that's been around longer than our house. It's sturdy, healthy, and perfect for a treehouse. I'm no carpenter, but I've always been pretty handy. Still, I wanted to do this right. So, I spent weeks researching, planning, and even consulting with an arborist to make sure we wouldn't harm the tree. I drew up detailed plans, calculated load-bearing capacities, and made sure everything was up to code. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Who gets permits for a treehouse? Well, I do. Call me paranoid, but I wanted to make sure everything was above board. Little did I know how crucial those permits would become. Construction began in early June. The kids were over the moon, helping by handing me tools and offering unsolicited advice. "Dad, I think it needs a slide," Max would say, while Emily insisted on a princess tower. I tried to incorporate their ideas as best I could while keeping things realistic and safe. The treehouse took shape over the next few weeks. It wasn't anything fancy, just a simple 8x10 platform with railings, a small roof, and a ladder. But to Emily and Max, it was a castle in the sky. They spent every free moment up there, reading, playing, and probably plotting world domination. Everything was perfect, until Karen moved in next door. Karen, not her real name but it might as well be, arrived in a whirlwind of moving boxes and complaints. From day one she found fault with everything in the neighborhood. The Johnsons' rose bushes were too tall, the Garcias' wind chimes were too noisy, and don't even get her started on the Sullivans' dog. I tried to be a good neighbor. When she came over to introduce herself, I offered her a cold drink and attempted some friendly small talk. But it quickly became clear that Karen wasn't interested in friendship. She was on a mission. "So," she said, peering over my fence, "what's that? Structure in your tree?" I followed her gaze to the treehouse. "Oh, that's just a treehouse I built for my kids. They love it." Karen's eyes narrowed. It looks rather precarious. Are you sure it's safe?" I assured her that it was perfectly safe, built to code, and regularly inspected. But I could see the wheels turning in her head. Little did I know, this was just the beginning. Over the next few weeks, Karen's complaints escalated. She'd call over the fence whenever the kids were playing, asking them to keep it down. She'd glare at the treehouse every time she was in her yard, as if willing it to collapse. Then came the day she knocked on my door, a stern look on her face. "We need to talk about that treehouse," she said without preamble. I sighed, already tired of this conversation. "What about it, Karen?" "It's an eyesore," she declared. "And more importantly, it's a safety hazard. I'm worried about the children in the neighborhood. What if one of them climbs up there and falls? Have you even considered the liability issues?" I took a deep breath, reminding myself to stay calm. "Karen, I appreciate your concern, but the treehouse is perfectly safe. It's built to code, and my kids know the rules about who can and can't go up there." But Karen wasn't having it. "Codes? What codes? I highly doubt there are building codes for treehouses. I think you need to take it down before someone gets hurt." That's when I decided to have a little fun. "You know what, Karen? You're right. I should probably check on those codes. Why don't you give me a week to look into it?" She seemed surprised by my sudden agreement but nodded smugly. "I think that's a wise decision. I'll check back with you in a week." As soon as I closed the door, I couldn't help but chuckle. Little did Karen know, I had an ace up my sleeve. Or rather, a folder full of permits in my filing cabinet. The next week was quiet. Too quiet. I could feel Karen watching the treehouse from her window, probably imagining all the ways it could collapse. The kids, picking up on the tension, asked me if they were going to lose their treehouse. "Don't worry," I told them. "Dad's got a plan." Finally, the day arrived. Right on schedule, Karen marched up to my door, a triumphant look on her face. "Well," she said, "it's been a week. I assume you've realized the danger and are ready to take down that monstrosity?" I put on my best serious face. "You're right, Karen. I've looked into it, and I think we need to have a serious discussion about the treehouse. Why don't you come in?" Karen followed me into the living room, practically gloating. I gestured for her to sit down, then excused myself to get some paperwork. When I returned with a thick folder, her smug expression faltered slightly. "What's all that?" she asked. "Oh, this?" I said innocently. "Just some documents I thought might be relevant to our discussion." I opened the folder and started laying out papers on the coffee table. "Let's see. We've got the building permit for the treehouse structure. And here's the safety inspection certificate. Oh, and this is the arborist's report on the health and stability of the oak tree." Karen's jaw dropped. But that's impossible. There's no way you got permits for a treehouse." I smiled. "Oh, but I did. You see, Karen, before I even started building, I went to the city and got all the necessary approvals. The treehouse meets all safety standards. It's been inspected and certified. Heck, I even had an engineer review the plans." I handed her a document. "Here, take a look. This is the official approval from the city's building department. Note the stamp and signature at the bottom." Karen snatched the paper, her eyes darting back and forth as she read. Her face grew redder with each line. This can't be right, she sputtered. Oh, it's right, I assured her. I believe in doing things by the book, Karen. When it comes to my children's safety, I don't cut corners. She looked up at me, a mix of anger and embarrassment on her face. But it's still an eyesore. It decreases my property value. I was prepared for this too. Actually, I said, pulling out another document, according to this appraisal, well-maintained tree houses can increase property values in family-friendly neighborhoods. They're seen as desirable features for potential buyers with children. Karen was speechless. She stared at the papers scattered across the table, then at me, then back at the papers. I could almost see the gears grinding to a halt in her head. Finally, she stood up abruptly. Well, I'll need to review these documents more closely. I'm sure there's some mistake. I nodded graciously. Of course, take all the time you need. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And if you'd like, I can give you the contact information for the city's building department. I'm sure they'd be happy to confirm everything. Karen mumbled something incoherent and practically fled from my house. As I watched her scurry back to her own property, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. But little did I know, this was far from over. The next few days were blissfully quiet. The kids enjoyed their treehouse without interruption, and I didn't see hide nor hair of Karen. I thought maybe, just maybe, she had accepted defeat and moved on to terrorize some other aspect of the neighborhood. How wrong I was. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon. I was in the backyard, manning the grill for a family barbecue, when I heard raised voices coming from the front of the house. Curious, I wandered around to investigate. There, on my front lawn, stood Karen. And she wasn't alone. A small group of people were with her, all looking various degrees of concerned and annoyed. I recognized most of them as other neighbors from our street. What's going on here? I asked, approaching the group. Karen whirled to face me, her eyes blazing with renewed determination. Ah, there you are. We've been waiting for you. Your little treehouse situation has gone on long enough. I raised an eyebrow. My treehouse situation? Karen, we've been over this. The treehouse is perfectly legal and safe. That may be what your so-called permits say, Karen sniffed, making air quotes with her fingers. But we, the concerned citizens of this neighborhood, disagree. I looked at the group behind her. Most of them wouldn't meet my eyes, shuffling uncomfortably. Karen, I said slowly, what exactly have you been telling these people? Before she could answer, Mrs. Johnson, a sweet elderly lady from down the street, spoke up. She said your treehouse was a danger to the whole neighborhood, that it could fall at any moment and damage our properties. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And you all believe this? Mr. Garcia, another neighbor, shrugged. We don't know what to believe. Karen seemed pretty convinced, and well, it is a pretty big structure in a tree. I pinched the bridge of my nose, feeling a headache coming on. Okay, look, I appreciate everyone's concern, but I can assure you the treehouse is completely safe. I have all the necessary permits and inspections to prove it. Ha, Karen exclaimed. That's what you say. But how do we know those permits are even real? For all we know, you could have forged them. That was it? I'd had enough of Karen's baseless accusations. It was time to end this once and for all. All right, I said, my voice firm. You want proof? Let's get some. Right now? I turned to the group. Would you all feel better if we had an official from the city come out and verify everything? There were nods and murmurs of agreement from the neighbors. Karen, however, looked less than pleased. Fine, she said through gritted teeth. Call them. We'll wait. I pulled out my phone and dialed the city's building department. Luck was on my side. My friend Mike, who had helped me through the permit process, was working that day. Hey Mike, I said when he answered. I've got a bit of a situation here. Any chance you could swing by my place? I've got some neighbors who are concerned about the safety of my treehouse. Mike, bless him, understood the urgency in my voice. Say no more, he said. I'll be there in 20 minutes. While we waited, the atmosphere was tense. Karen paced back and forth, occasionally shooting glares in my direction. The other neighbors talked quietly among themselves. I offered everyone cold drinks, which most accepted gratefully. It was a hot day to be standing around on someone's lawn. True to his word, Mike arrived in his city vehicle about 20 minutes later. He stepped out, clipboard in hand, looking every bit the official he was. Afternoon, folks, he said, approaching our group. I understand there are some concerns about a treehouse? Karen immediately launched into her tirade. Yes, this man has built an unsafe monstrosity in his backyard. It's a danger to the entire neighborhood. Mike listened patiently, then turned to me. May I see the structure in question? I led Mike, Karen, and the rest of the neighbors to my backyard. As soon as the treehouse came into view, Mike let out a low whistle. Well, I'll be, he said. This is some fine work. Karen sputtered. Fine work? It's a disaster waiting to happen. Mike turned to her, his expression professional but kind. Ma'am, I understand your concerns, but I can assure you this is one of the safest and best constructed treehouses I've seen in my 15 years on the job. He pulled out a file from his clipboard. In fact, I remember this project quite well. Mr. Johnson here went above and beyond with his permit applications and safety precautions. Karen's face was turning an interesting shade of red. But, Mike continued, addressing the whole group now. This treehouse was built to the same safety standards we'd require for a ground-level deck. The materials are top-notch, the construction is solid, and the tree itself was thoroughly inspected by a certified arborist before construction began. He flipped through his papers. We've got the initial building permit, multiple inspection certificates, an engineer's approval of the design. Frankly, this treehouse is probably safer than some of the older homes on this street. The neighbors were nodding now, looking impressed. Karen, on the other hand, looked like she was about to explode. "This is ridiculous," she shouted. "Are you all blind? It's in a tree. Trees fall." Mike addressed her calmly. "Ma'am, the odds of this particular tree falling are extremely low. It's healthy, well-maintained, and the treehouse actually helps distribute weight more evenly among the branches. But even if the unthinkable happened, the structure is designed to withstand the fall without catastrophic failure." He turned back to the group. "Folks, I can state officially that this treehouse is 100% up to code and safe for use. If anything, it's a model for how these structures should be built." The tension in the group visibly dissipated. People were smiling now, some even looking a bit sheepish for having doubted me. Mrs. Johnson stepped forward. "Well, I for one feel much better. Thank you for clarifying everything, young man." Mike nodded. "Happy to help. Does anyone have any other questions?" No one spoke up. Well, almost no one. "This is outrageous," Karen shrieked. "You're all in on it together." I'll sue. I'll call the mayor." Mike raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, you're welcome to do so, but I can assure you it won't change the facts. This treehouse is legal, safe, and honestly, quite impressive." Karen looked around wildly, but it was clear she had lost her audience. The other neighbors were already starting to drift away, many stopping to apologize to me as they left. "I'm so sorry for doubting you," Mr. Garcia said. "That treehouse looks amazing. My kids would love something like that." "No hard feelings," I assured him. "Feel free to bring your kids over sometime. I'm sure Emily and Max would love to show it off." As the last of the neighbors left, Karen stood there fuming. She pointed a finger at me. "This isn't over," she hissed, before storming off towards her house. Mike watched her go, then turned to me with a grin. "Well, that was exciting. Reminds me why I love this job." I laughed, the tension finally leaving my body. "Thanks for coming out, Mike. I owe you one." He waved it off. "Don't mention it. Always happy to stand up for good, honest work. You did everything right here, and it shows." After Mike left, I went back to my neglected grill, thinking the excitement was over for the day. But as I was flipping burgers, I heard small voices from above. "Dad, is everything okay? Can we still keep the treehouse?" I looked up to see Emily and Max peering down from their perch, worry clear on their little faces. My heart melted. "Everything's fine, kiddos," I called up to them. "The treehouse isn't going anywhere. Why don't you come down and help me with lunch?" Their faces lit up, and they scrambled down the ladder faster than I'd ever seen them move. As they chattered excitedly about their plans for the treehouse, I couldn't help but smile. All the hassle, all the drama with Karen, it was worth it to see my kids this happy. The rest of the weekend passed without incident. Karen's curtains remained firmly closed, and I didn't see her venture out of her house. I hoped that maybe, just maybe, she had finally accepted defeat. But come Monday morning, I realized how naive that hope had been. I was just leaving for work when I noticed a sleek black car pull up in front of Karen's house. A man in an expensive-looking suit stepped out, briefcase in hand. He glanced at a piece of paper, then at my house number, before striding purposefully towards my front door. My heart sank. I had a pretty good idea what this was about. "Can I help you?" I called out, stepping onto my porch. The man looked up, his expression neutral. "Are you Mr. Johnson?" I nodded, bracing myself for what was coming. "I'm Jeffrey Simmons, attorney at law," he said, extending a hand. "I represent your neighbor, Mrs. Karen Thompson. I have some legal documents for you regarding the structure in your backyard." I shook his hand, trying to keep my composure. "Let me guess, she's suing me over the treehouse?" Mr. Simmons had the grace to look slightly uncomfortable. "Well, yes. Mrs. Thompson is filing a lawsuit claiming the treehouse is a nuisance and demanding its removal." I couldn't help but laugh, which seemed to throw the lawyer off balance. "I'm sorry," I said, "but this is getting ridiculous. Did Mrs. Thompson tell you about the city inspector who was here just 2 days ago? The one who confirmed everything was up to code and perfectly safe?" Mr. Simmons frowned. "She may have neglected to mention that detail." I sighed. "Look, Mr. Simmons, I'm sure you're just doing your job, but I have all the necessary permits and approvals for that treehouse. It's been inspected multiple times. I even have an official statement from the city confirming its safety and legality. Your client is wasting her time and money with this lawsuit." The lawyer's frown deepened. "I see. Well, regardless, I'm required to serve you these papers. You'll find all the details of the lawsuit inside. I recommend you seek legal counsel." I took the envelope he handed me. "Thank you, Mr. Simmons. I'll be sure to do that." As he turned to leave, I couldn't resist adding, "And Mr. Simmons, you might want to do a bit more research into your client's claims before proceeding. Just a friendly suggestion." He paused, looking back at me with a mix of curiosity and concern. Then, with a curt nod, he returned to his car and drove away. I stood on my porch for a moment, staring at the envelope in my hand. Part of me wanted to laugh at the absurdity of it all. Another part wanted to scream in frustration. But mostly, I felt a steely determination. Karen had picked the wrong neighbor to mess with. That evening, after the kids were in bed, I sat down at my computer and got to work. I scanned all my permits, inspection reports, and the official statement from Mike. I compiled a detailed timeline of events, including Karen's escalating complaints and the neighborhood confrontation. Then I reached out to a lawyer friend of mine for advice. Jake, my lawyer buddy, couldn't believe what he was hearing when I explained the situation. "She's suing you over a properly permitted treehouse? That's insane." "Tell me about it," I sighed. "What should I do?" Jake was quiet for a moment, thinking. "Well, based on what you've told me, her case doesn't have a leg to stand on. But we need to respond firmly and decisively. I think we should not only fight this lawsuit but file a countersuit for harassment and legal fees." I hesitated. "Isn't that a bit aggressive?" "Look," Jake said, his voice serious. "This woman has been harassing you and your family for weeks. She's tried to turn your neighbors against you, made false accusations, and now she's filing a frivolous lawsuit. If we don't put a stop to this now, she'll just keep coming back with more ridiculous claims." I knew he was right. "Okay," I said, "what do we do?" Jake outlined a plan. We'd file a response to Karen's lawsuit, systematically debunking each of her claims with our documentation. Then we'd file our own lawsuit for harassment, citing her repeated baseless complaints, the neighborhood incident, and now this frivolous legal action. We'd also request that she cover all legal fees associated with both cases. Over the next few weeks, Jake and I worked on our legal strategy. We gathered statements from neighbors who had witnessed Karen's behavior. We got additional documentation from the city reaffirming the treehouse's compliance with all regulations. We even had an independent safety expert inspect the treehouse and provide a report. Meanwhile, life went on. The kids continued to enjoy their treehouse, blissfully unaware of the legal battle brewing. Karen, for her part, seemed to be lying low. I occasionally saw her peering out her window, but she never confronted me directly again. Finally, the day of our first court appearance arrived. As Jake and I walked into the courthouse, I spotted Karen and her lawyer huddled together, whispering furiously. When she saw me, her eyes narrowed, but she quickly looked away. The judge, a no-nonsense older woman named Judge Harriet Green, called the court to order. Karen's lawyer presented their case first, painting a picture of a dangerous, unsightly structure that was lowering property values and putting children at risk. When it was our turn, Jake calmly and methodically dismantled each of their arguments. He presented our stack of permits and inspection reports, the city's official statement, and the independent expert's assessment. He showed photos of the treehouse, pointing out its sturdy construction and safety features. "Your Honor," Jake concluded, "not only is my client's treehouse completely legal and safe, but Mrs. Thompson's repeated baseless complaints and this frivolous lawsuit constitute harassment. We respectfully ask that you dismiss her case and consider our countersuit for damages." Judge Green listened intently, occasionally asking pointed questions of both sides. Finally, she leaned back in her chair, surveying the courtroom. "I've heard enough," she said. "Mrs. Thompson, while I understand your concerns for safety, it's clear that Mr. Johnson has gone above and beyond to ensure his treehouse is both legal and secure. Your lawsuit is without merit and is hereby dismissed." Karen gasped audibly, her face turning red, but Judge Green wasn't finished. "Furthermore," she continued, "I find Mr. Johnson's claims of harassment to be credible. Mrs. Thompson, your behavior towards your neighbor has been unacceptable. I'm granting Mr. Johnson's countersuit. You will be required to pay all legal fees associated with both cases, and I'm issuing a restraining order preventing you from further harassment of the Johnson family or interference with their property." The judge's gavel came down with a final, satisfying thunk. It was over. We had won? As we left the courthouse, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Jake clapped me on the back, grinning. "Congratulations, man. Justice served." I nodded, still a bit dazed by it all. "Thanks, Jake. I couldn't have done it without you." Karen and her lawyer rushed past us, Karen's face a mask of fury and humiliation. Part of me felt a twinge of sympathy. It couldn't be easy to be so thoroughly defeated in public. But a larger part remembered all the stress and anxiety she'd put my family through, and I couldn't find it in me to feel too bad. That evening, as I watched Emily and Max playing happily in their treehouse, I reflected on the whole ordeal. It had been a stressful few months, full of unexpected challenges and frustrations. But looking at my kids' smiling faces, I knew it had all been worth it. The treehouse stood tall and proud, a testament to perseverance, proper planning, and the importance of standing up for what's right. And if it also served as a constant reminder to Karen of her defeat, well, that was just a bonus. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over our backyard, I called up to the kids. "Hey, room for one more up there?" Their excited voices chorused back, "Come on up, Dad." I climbed the ladder, feeling each sturdy rung beneath my feet, and joined my children in their castle in the sky. As we sat together, planning imaginary adventures and enjoying the view of our neighborhood, I couldn't help but smile. Sometimes the best victories are the ones you can enjoy every day, right in your own backyard. Are you hungry for more slices of stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to never miss out on any videos. See you tomorrow at Story Slices.